Welcome to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit, where we share inspiring stories of resilience, courage, and hope. Join us as we celebrate the people and moments that define our nation's values and remind us that even the smallest actions can spark lasting change. And here's your hosts, Liz Morris and Bill LeMay.
Today we're joined by Amy Dozier from the Woody Williams Foundation. Thank you so much for being with us, Amy.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Amy's dedicated her life to honoring her husband's legacy and supporting military families. We're so glad you're here. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up just down the street in Durham, in Southwest Durham area. My parents moved there when I was about 1. I was born in Iowa. I lived in Durham almost my entire life. I went to all the public schools in Durham, graduated, went to East Carolina for a little while, met my husband, John. It was a pretty whirlwind romance. He was just this cute guy with a buzz cut on a military base that I thought was really handsome. We got married, got pregnant, he deployed. I mean, you know, in true military fashion, things just moved very quickly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm a lover of music and sunsets and dogs and all the things. So
he swept you off your feet, is what it sounds like.
Yes.
But in addition to all the wonderful things you just mentioned, you also became a Gold Star spouse.
I did.
And I want to, if you don't mind, get into the story about that and John. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, no, I don't mind at all. So John was in the Army. He was an Army sniper, and he deployed just after we found out we were pregnant. And I had a fairly complicated pregnancy. So I stayed stateside. He went to Germany with his unit, and from Germany they went into Iraq. And this was, during the height of the war, during the surge, 2007-08 era. So he went on in. I stayed behind. I was actually living here right in Apex. I was, setting up house for when he came home. I gave birth to our daughter, Emma Grace, and she was a few weeks early, and just gave birth right down the street at Wake Med. And on January 9th of 2008, I had just put her in her crib to go to sleep. And that's when I got a knock on the door, and I opened it up, and it was 3 men just in uniform from Fort Bragg. And it was, I don't know, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. Honestly, and I've had this talk with so many different Gold Star families, like, what was that moment like for you? Yeah. And one of the things that I find to be true for a lot of us is that we tend to go into this shock. And like, you almost don't remember what happened in those moments. What I do remember from that night is feeling that sense of shock, feeling a sense of fear. I honestly thought that maybe they were there to kidnap us, or, there were these men in uniform during an active wartime. Yeah. And I thought, oh, why else would they be at my house? And so, of course, I slammed the door on their face. I wouldn't let them in. But once I finally did allow them to come in, they sat down at my dining room table right there near the front door, and proceeded to tell me that earlier in the day that my husband, Staff Sergeant Jonathan Killian Dozier, had been killed, along with many of his unit members, by an IED in Baghdad, Iraq. Yeah.
Where was he deployed?
He was in Baghdad. He was in Iraq.
Baghdad. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know the area, and that was, and as you mentioned, it was at the height of the war, and IEDs were a huge problem.
Yes.
Now, I know the military does at least in my experience, they've done a wonderful job informing families and helping them through what is an unbelievable situation. Did you find that to be true, the people who came to your door? And then, of course, you're faced with all kinds of challenges. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And it's a question that has come so full circle in the last 17 years of my life. In the beginning, I have to say, looking back, like, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So in the moment, of course, I felt very cared for. This man came and picked me up at my house and took me over to Fort Bragg to fill out paperwork. And he did that, several times. I think somebody even was with me at the funeral in Arlington. And so I had somebody there, and I had his phone number and business card for about maybe a month or two. But then after that, everything just kind of dropped off, and I was clueless. I had no idea what to do. I think the hardest part for me in that time, and again, just something that I learned later on, was that, any death, anytime there's an upheaval in a family, add war, add politics, add money, add stuff, add all of the emotions, add the grief. And it has such a potential to really drive a wedge in between families. And I thought my family was the only one to go through that. And it was so embarrassing. People would ask me, about what I was going through, and I wouldn't want to tell them about the dark things my family was going through.
Oh, tell us. No, I mean that. No, I do mean that, because I think people would assume the obvious. Obviously, the financial need. What do you do? Where do you move? All the things about your future. I bet I know a lot of families go through that, but
Sure.
especially military families, you're pretty close knit, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right. So when you talk about such things, what kinds of things are you talking about?
Anything from benefits navigation to family dynamics to who the heck am I in this new normal? I mean, what do I do with this tiny baby that I have? There are a lot of us. There are a lot of widows who had small children when their husbands were killed. And so, looking back at that time, just the things that we were going through as a family, I learned a lot in therapy about the concept of disenfranchised grief. And remember, I said that this was a whirlwind romance. Like, we met in 2005. We married at the beginning of 2006. I found out I was pregnant pretty early on, and he deployed shortly thereafter. Wow. So in total, I was his wife on this earth for less than 3 years.
Wow.
I had his child. I'm raising his child, who's now 18 and a freshman at Meredith College.
Oh, congrats.
But thank you. But if you look back, I mean, this is not uncommon. We get these, well, I had my husband for almost 3 years, and his family had him for almost 30. And there is this perceived hierarchy, if you will, in grief. It feels disgusting when you're in it. But when you look back, you can see that it's not right, but it makes so much sense when you're going through that. And so it causes a lot of conflict. I was absolutely not my best self back then. I did not hold my tongue very well. I was just angry. I was angry at the world. I was angry at John. I was angry at the people who built the IED that killed him. And I was resentful of the fact that I had to raise this child without her father. So all of that just kind of went into play, and, add just logistics. Where do I go? Who do I turn to? What benefits am I? What did I pay into as his wife? Like, what am I due? Like, what's next?
Right.
And that's kind of a theme in this world. Is a lot of people go through those same things.
Yeah.
What did you do? How did you get plugged in with help, or how did you?
So I went up with my family. We went up to Washington, D.C. We went to go back to Arlington because I wanted to take Emma to her dad's grave in Arlington. He's in Section 60, grave number 8727 for anyone listening who ever wants to go and visit. And we went up there. She was still very, very young. And I guess that there was somewhere in Washington, D.C., there was some event happening. And it was for military families, military survivors, all of the different segments of the military population. And I found this tent, and all of these people inside the tent or under the tent were wearing these red shirts that said TAPS on them. It was the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. And this is an organization that was created by Bonnie Carroll in 1994 after the loss of her husband in a training accident, when she realized that there was literally nothing for her or her 5 other peers that she knew had lost a husband in service to our country. So she built this organization. It's been around for 31 years, and they just kind of brought me in and connected me with other peers that had gone through similar things. And that's when I really started to learn that healing was, not only was I worthy of healing, it was so possible, and so was like thriving. Like, who knew? Who knew that you could actually move through this and come out on the other end far greater than you started?
That's
Wow.
amazing. That gives you hope, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I can feel your passion. Like, obviously this was hugely influential. I mean, how did you get to the Woody Williams? Were you trying to?
I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah, same.
I was working in orthopedic nursing and massage therapy, and then John died, and I was a mom and just kind of floundering, like, what's next? I'm really fortunate to have had the support of the military, to take the time to find myself and figure out what was next. I used my my GI Bill, or John's GI Bill, to go back to school and get my master's degree, because I knew in that same time, in that same like 5 or 6 year time frame, I realized that we were doing really well. We still had some stuff. We still had to work through some stuff, and I was still learning a ton. But what I realized was that I could find purpose in the pain that I once felt. And if I could do that, maybe I could share that lesson with other people who were going through something similar. So that's one of the reasons that I went back to school. But it's also another reason that I just kind of threw myself fully into the world of military nonprofits, just learning how they operate. How can I be a part of this? How can, just a side note, I will never forget reading an interview that John did just before he left for Iraq. And he said, I always wanted to be an American soldier. I always wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. And I really took that to heart. And one of the lessons that I learned in grief was that, there are so many people who have died, who have fought and died for our freedom. Our job is to steward that freedom well. And that's the lesson that I took with me, was not only teach my daughter how to live as a good steward of these freedoms and opportunities that are given to us because they died, but to share these with other people who are along the journey with us. So I just threw myself into this world, and I became just friends and acquaintances and colleagues with different people. And ultimately, about 3 years ago, I signed a contract. It was a 6-month contract with the Woody Williams Foundation. And they just continued to say, hey, will you stay on a little longer? So you signed a 6-month contract, and here I am almost 3 years later. And it's just been fascinating.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and what it does?
Yeah. So it was founded, not quite 15 years ago, by Woody Williams, Herschel Woody Williams. He received the Medal of Honor for his heroic acts in World War II on Iwo Jima. Lost a lot of friends during that war, came home, continued his service. And when he retired, he said, I'm not ready to stop serving. I want to take care of the families that were left behind, also known as Gold Star families. So Woody got together with his family, and he said, I want to build something. I want to do something for these families. So he started this foundation. They started working together to build these beautiful monuments all over the country. We've got, I think, almost 160 and one in Guam. And these serve as just kind of a reminder of the service and sacrifice of military families. And so we've been around for, I want to say 12 or 13 years. And like I said, I've been there for about 3.
I think he used to, if I recall his bio, used to deliver messages to folks like you back in the day, even prior to his service.
Yes. He did. Gosh, the notification was so different back then. Mm-hmm. Very, very different. I can't imagine.
Now, I know you do a lot of speaking, right?
Yes.
Is that therapy? Or what is it for you?
Well, full disclosure, I go to therapy to become better at it because it's so nerve-wracking.
You seem very natural. It's working.
I'm a writer. I'm a writer at heart. It's safe. Writing is very safe. I joke, I come from a family of type A personalities, and I tend to get a little lost. And I feel like writing is like my way of getting all my words out with nobody talking over me. The same has been true in grief, especially early on, feeling some of that disenfranchisement and feeling a little bit lost and lonely in those early days of grief. And I did start writing, and then the writing really touched other people, and they asked me more and more, why don't you come and share some of those writings, share your heart. And it's, I don't love being under the spotlight, but, I've learned that, everybody's got a story. And I always tell people, use your story for good. Like, that's why we're here. And I just happen to have a story and a platform. And by God, if I'm going to be a good steward, like I want to, I think this is just one of those growth opportunities that I have no choice but to seize and take advantage of, even when it's scary.
It is. People are afraid to speak, but boy, the reward must be awesome. I mean, the feedback you get.
Yeah.
Every time you raise the Stars and Stripes, you're honoring the values that built this nation: resilience, determination, and the pursuit of freedom. Beacon Nylon U.S. flags are made by American flag makers who understand that legacy. Crafted with individually embroidered stars, sewn stripes, and bold colors designed to hold up under the toughest conditions, these flags are built to last. We're so confident in the quality that if yours wears out before 6 months, we'll replace it for free. Show your pride with a flag worthy of the ideals it represents. Order yours now at carrot-top.com/beacon.
It doesn't sound like there's too many organizations, and even like TAPS, you said started 30 years ago.
31, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about what the kind of support people used to have. I mean, do you all have a sense of how many Gold Star families there are? Like,
I looked that up recently, and it was like 1.7 million.
Wow.
I mean, all of them are not living today. This is across all war periods. I'm not sure how correct that number is, but it's interesting. There's a lot of us, and it feels like such a small world at the same time, if that makes any sense. Because it's like, maybe there are 1.7 million of us. I know that there are thousands and thousands at national conferences that I go to up in DC every year. But it's so interesting. It's like you walk into the room of Gold Star family members, and you feel an instant connection, because it's like the club that you never wanted to be a part of, but you can't imagine living without. And you just walk in the room and people get it. There's a lot of us, and it's a small world.
Yeah, it is. And you do feel all alone. And I'm just wondering, since you're out and you're living it, but you also interact with people who are living it, what are the challenges? What are they searching for, I guess? Is there something beyond, where do I pick up the benefit check and what, the mechanics of living? But is there something else? There's got to be that connection that's important.
If I had to sum it up, regardless of the era, regardless of the manner of death, regardless of where you fit in that family, your relationship to that person who died, I think, number one, we want connection to validate the fact that we're not alone. We want to find meaning. Like, this can't be for nothing, right? Like, right. It just seems so senseless sometimes. It can't be for nothing. So we need to find that meaning. I think lastly, we don't want them to be forgotten. So I think connection, meaning, and remembrance. I think those would be the top three things that surpass anything.
That makes sense. And I know with the foundation, your outreach, that's part of your job over there. How important is that? I mean, to do a program like this, for instance, or I know you have events And maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well. How important is that to get the word out about
my
Gold Star
goodness.
families?
It's so important. I actually just made a LinkedIn post about it this morning. It's everything to, again, number one, connection. We've got to figure out a way to bring these families together. It's so interesting. Like I have so many friends who I met, whose losses were around the same time as mine, like 15, 16, 17, 20 years ago. And we're all mostly doing really well. But here we are all these years later. And there are some times when we feel a little bit forgotten about. Like, oh, they're good. They're so far out. They're totally fine. And they're not wrong. We are totally fine. And we've got other life circumstances that are happening. We've got children going off to college. We've got some, it's called recycled grief. You go through these other big milestones in life, and stuff from the past comes right back up and it hits you in the face when you're least expecting it. And so I think regardless of where we are in the journey, whether we're 20, 30, 40 years out, or this just happened last week, it's so important to make sure that these families know that they are never alone. They are not forgotten, and there will always be somebody there to connect with, to give them a resource, to be a listening ear, and to say the name of their person that they lost.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I mean, I just, lost my mom a few years ago. But I feel like just so many things you're saying really resonate with me. How do you create those spaces? What kind of events do you all do, to create that connection and to allow people to remember? And
for a long time, even before I came on to the foundation, they were doing kind of the same systematic events every single year. There was a football game, there were baseball games, there were horse races, there were, just kind of the same things every year, and they were amazing. Like that, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's also true that as the only survivor on the team, I had an insight that maybe they didn't quite have, and that is, the needs are always changing. Mm-hmm. This landscape is changing. The way we talk about war and kind of where we are now in all of that has changed drastically over the last 10 years, 5 years. And so it's really important to me, again, to be able to use my platform to reach out to others who want to offer something. Let me back up. It's important for me to stay connected to the survivors. It's important for me to understand what are they going through, what's happening in their community, what conversations are happening around the country, where are the gaps and how can we fill them? On the other side, it's really important for me to go and find the people who have capacity to give in any realm, whether they can give their time, their talent, their treasure, what have you. There are a lot of really grateful Americans that have experiences that they would love to offer, and they just don't know how to reach the families. Like, oh, we would love to get more involved. We have this thing. So like right now, I've got families getting ready to take a boat cruise, and some of the little boys are going to go fishing with some mentors. I mean, how cool is that? So It really just, if you want it, I'm probably going to make it happen for you. So we do
amazing.
lots of different kinds of events.
Mm-hmm.
You said horse riding.
Yeah.
I see you got some kind of cowboy award. Are you roping? What are you doing?
Okay, that came out of left field. That was...
You got to tell people what it is.
Okay, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So, quick backstory. I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. So back in maybe 2003, 04, when we were going into Afghanistan, there were some guys going in on horseback, just total old school. Got on their horses. I think there were 12 of them. They rode their horses in. I think there was something about like taking some supplies to the units and building morale. And I don't really know the full story. All I know is that there was this incredible movie made about them called 12 Strong. fast forward, 12 strong, those guys got together a little later, very dedicated bourbon drinkers, and they decided, guess what? We're going to make bourbon, and we're going to make it all patriotic. So they created Horse Soldier Bourbon, because they were known as the Horse Soldiers. So there's these 12 guys in Afghanistan. A few years later, there's this movie made after them, 12 strong. A few years after that, they create Horse Soldier Bourbon. Well, Horse Soldier Bourbon has partnered up with PBR, Professional Bull Riders of America. I think that's what it is. And they essentially just go around the country looking for people who, I guess, kind of embody the spirit of a soldier in the work that they do in their community. And they find somebody in each community that they go to. You know, they put on a show, and then Horse Soldier Bourbon sponsors it, and they bring people out, and it's a big time. So I was recently selected as the North Carolina recipient for the B Cowboy Award for Horse Soldier Bourbon and PBR. And I went to the show. It's not
The
a
rodeo?
rodeo. It's not a rodeo because there was no lasso. They weren't. It was the one with like where they get on the bull and they have to stay on for 8 seconds, and and the bull goes nuts and it just bucks everywhere and people fall. I mean, talk about sacrificing your body. No way.
I was going to say they get you up there. Were you one of the clowns?
And I was not a clown this time
holding
around, but I told them maybe next time. I said, look, if you need a clown or a national anthem singer, I'm your girl, either one. And we exchanged numbers, and it was such a big time. And it was, again, horribly uncomfortable being underneath the spotlight because I just feel, it's not that I feel unworthy. It's just that I'm not the only one doing this. I certainly don't do this alone. Do I have a lot of ideas that I execute and I come up and execute with by myself? Yeah, but I certainly don't do this work alone. And I really do think that, if I'm so grateful that they see I feel seen. That was how I walked away that night. Like, wow, that was super uncomfortable. And I feel so seen, which is two things can be true at the same time, right?
Sure.
But yeah, it was so nice to be seen for the work that I do because I'm so passionate about it. It is my calling for real. But I'm not the only one doing this. And it really is for everyone. Like you're a cowboy. You're a cowboy.
Yes.
I mean, we're all cowboys, right?
We try to be, don't we?
Right.
But you were recognized by a group of individual soldiers. That's got to be, that in itself is cool. And I'm just wondering how many cases of bourbon you got.
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't get a case, but I did get the coolest bottle. It's one of 12.
Ooh.
And the metal label on the outside was actually curated from a piece of metal from the World Trade Center.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Wow.
And I was the first woman to receive this award as well.
Congratulations.
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, pretty cool. Those guys are, am I allowed to cuss on here? Those guys are pretty badass.
Okay, we can say that. I was like, wait, what level?
They're
PG,
pretty,
13.
yeah.
That's probably PG now.
Yeah, they're awesome. They were they went to war. I couldn't. I have found that I'm a pretty resilient person. And I have a lot of courage to take risks, but wow, to be part of that 1% that would put on that uniform and take that oath. I don't know that I'm that strong.
Yeah, I think most Americans admire that, respect that.
Yeah.
And Gold Star families.
Yeah.
There's Blue Star families, there's certain levels, but they all are embraced by not only their neighbors, but Americans in general, I think, really appreciate the service. Which is cool because it hasn't always been the case,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
So very true. And it's interesting that you say that because a lot of what I work with are those the Global War on Terror families. I serve a lot of 9/11, post 9/11 families. It is a little sad that the majority of organizations out there, I think, do tend to lean towards those post 9/11 families because that's the one that's like right in our face. And a lot of the sponsorships and the donations that go to those organizations are restricted for those families. which is great for our families. And there are still other surviving families from different eras that deserve everything that we have access to. And so again, another one of those things that I like to use my platform for, to educate some of these organizations. Like, hey, I want you to know that I was just with a Vietnam era family and they're really struggling, and this isn't all for me. Like, we need to figure out how to get what's coming to me over to them. And I feel really blessed that I can have those conversations with people.
I mean, your passion is like radiating. Like, how do you keep that up? How do you? I mean,
I think learning to become really self-aware and learning when I need breaks, learning when I need to pour a little more into myself and not being afraid to do that. Getting outside and moving my body in nature every single day. I've learned just the power of finding gratitude in just the littlest things. I was on a walk with a girlfriend of mine recently. We were power walking, and she was just going a mile a minute, just talking, and all the great things that she's thankful for. And I said, just stop right now. Just listen. She was like, what am I listening to? Like the trees. Just listen. Just like be still for 1 minute and just listen to what the earth is trying to tell you. And I'm not like one of those like woo-woo people who's like, but truly just like really be still and just listen. Just let that intuition guide you into your next step. And it just changes the way that you take those next steps. She thought I was nuts, but then I think she started to get it. I think when you stop and you just don't allow the noise of the world infiltrate your little bubble of peace, and you just hold on to it and find that gratitude for that little bit of peace that you might have that one day. Maybe it's a really horrible day, but there is something in it. There is something in every day. I think if we can just pause and look for it, and say thank you and just keep moving on. I think it resets and it reframes kind of the way that you see things and how you move and how you show up for other people.
I agree. There's a lot of noise. It's hard to hear your inner thoughts at times.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you you seem like a grief expert. So even, for someone like me, I'm not a Gold Star member, but, are there any other words of wisdom for people just grieving, or anything that you've learned or big takeaways?
Yeah. Number one, hope is always available. It is always available. It takes a lot of courage to reach out to someone, to ask for help. But if you ever needed it, there's always hope. There's always help available. Life is messy, and it is so beautiful, again, when you take the time to find that meaning, to connect with others, and just be real in that grief that you experience. I think it's valuable to not discount the non-death losses. Like, when John died, again, I had him for less than 3 years. We didn't even really get started as a family. He was gone. He was fighting a war. He was training and then fighting a war, and I was raising a baby. We never really got started. Not only did I lose my husband, I felt the secondary loss for my child. I felt the grief of a dream that just would never come true. I lost pieces of myself that I grieve, that I don't know that I'll ever get back. I've grown into other pieces of myself that I love, and God, that was a long process. Therapy is awesome. But
that sounds like a good podcast right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's do another show. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, those are some words of wisdom. Just hope is available. it takes courage to ask for help, and you have it. And don't discount those non-death losses, the losses of the dream, the secondary, tertiary losses that come from the death of a person. I mean, it's just give yourself time. It's okay to grieve those things that other people might see as silly or mundane, but they are very real. And if you don't look at it in the face and deal with it, it's just going to follow you around.
Words of wisdom. What if there are people watching, listening right now? They'd like some information, places to go. Do you have a website, something that they can?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to learn more about us at the Woody Williams Foundation, people can go to woodywilliams.org, www.woodywilliams.org. They can also reach out to me through my email, which is amy.dozier, so amy.dozier @woodywilliams.org. I'm happy to connect to any resource. If they are a family of a fallen service member, I would invite them to join us at an event. If it's somebody who would like to just support us, please reach out. Healing happens in community. We're here to do this together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So appreciate you taking time.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you all for having me.
You bet.
Stefanie's joining us for our Flags of Change segment today. Thanks for being on, Stefanie.
Absolutely.
So, in this segment, we're exploring how powerful symbols are often born from the bold vision of just one individual. And today we're talking about the Gold Star and Blue Star service flags.
Yeah.
So, Stefanie is our Carrot Top Industries call center supervisor. So can you tell us how the Blue Star and Gold Star flags came to be? Who was behind their creation?
Yeah. So in 1917, in the middle of World War I, Captain Robert L. Quasar of the Ohio National Guard created this as a tribute to his two sons who were serving overseas. And it caught on like wildfire. Like immediately people started posting and making them themselves. It's a red border with a white background, and then you've got a blue star for each member of your family who is currently serving in an international conflict. And then not too terribly long after that, there then developed the Gold Star option, or not option, but the Gold Star piece of it, which was when somebody was lost in service and conflict, you actually sewed a gold star on top of that blue star to show that that person has actually made the ultimate sacrifice and is no longer with us. So that was kind of it started with him, and it spread and people started doing it. President Wilson first popularized the term Gold Star Mother right around that same time, noting that the Gold Star was a public display of the price of liberty. And then, like I said, a lot of times people were hand stitching all of that hope and love and emotion into those stars, making it themselves. So yeah.
Well, can I ask then, Stefanie, why do you think they became so instantly popular? I mean, they were embraced by families and Americans all over the country, and even to this day, right? You see a flag, you instantly know. Mm-hmm. And I think you have emotion. Why?
Yeah,
why did they become so powerful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it is just that sense of there's so little you can do when you've got somebody serving overseas. And this is just one thing. It's that instant sense of community. It's that instant sense of, I've got this person. They are doing this amazing thing for all of us. And it shows that instant sense of belonging into that organization and solidarity for somebody that you really can't do a whole lot for at that point. And I think that's why it caught on so quickly. It's quick, it's simple, and it leaves a lasting impact for sure.
Well, we were just talking to Amy from the Woody Williams Foundation, and she was saying, for Gold Star families, there's a lot of foundations out there that kind of support the post 9/11. Mm-hmm. But I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about something that we did last year, where we worked with a 99-year-old veteran who actually just turned 100, right?
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that story and how we supported him?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to, we knew that we wanted to do something for Veterans Day. We wanted to do something with a veteran in our area. And so we started by reaching out to some of our local veterans organizations. One of those groups that we reached out to was the Alamance County Veterans Association, and they recommended Mr. Holt to us. We went out, we had a crew of, I don't know, I want to say 10-ish employees that went out. We did some yard work. They were blowing leaves. We painted front and back steps. We had somebody up on the roof with a leaf blower cleaning out the gutters, like just doing everything we could to get their house just in a good condition. It was already well upkept, but just kind of spruce it up and keep it nice for them. And that relationship has lasted moving forward from that. I know Mr. Holt was the first guest on the podcast, or second guest on the podcast. But we brought him in for that. I got to sit at his home with him while he was recording and help him record that. And I know you've touched base with him since then, and he's just a really cool veteran, has all kinds of stories, served both Europe and Asia during World War II. And just, I mean, his wife's amazing, just lots of amazing stories there. And it was a real honor to get to just give a little something back to him.
That's the amazing thing about these guys, especially from, excuse me, the earlier wars. They go to war, their life's turned upside down, and they come home and they pick up the shovel and start digging again. Life goes on. Let me ask you, what do you hope people will feel when they drive by one of these flags that may be posted outside one of their neighbors' homes?
Yeah. I think ideally it's just a moment of, that's somebody who is going through something. That is somebody that they've got a spouse, a child, a brother, somebody, a sister, somebody who is overseas serving right now. That's somebody that, maybe we can reach out and bring them a casserole, or, even if it's not that, just that sense of community. Or if, maybe you're also have somebody who's serving and can close that gap and just reach out that hand, that understanding that group mentality of, we've got this in common. And even if you don't have somebody in your family who's serving, everybody knows somebody who is or has been serving. My husband served, my father served, my uncles all served. Like, we've all got that connection to somebody. And just having that sense of, we're all in this together, whether we agree, we don't agree, we've got different views, doesn't matter. That's somebody who is out there putting their life on the line, and that's what matters. And
Amen.
Their family's still here.
Yeah.
That's
great.
awesome. Yeah,
Thank
it really
you,
is.
Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I
pleasure.
wanted to say, I've always wanted to say this. I think Stephanie's avid listener of the podcast. So longtime listener, first time caller.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stephanie. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit. We hope today's story inspired you to take action, embrace challenges, and pursue your dreams. To explore our collection of American-made flags and products that celebrate resilience and craftsmanship, visit us at carrot-top.com. That's carrot-top.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with others who appreciate stories of determination and hope. Until next time, stay resilient and keep your flag flying high.